to have this available. I will let you know we're going to record just again the presentation portion. So again, parents, you can feel free to ask your questions and know that they're not going to get recorded for posterity. This is your space to be able to ask those questions. So we'll turn the recording off when we get to that portion of the evening. Again, welcome. My name is Nick Faber. I'm a teacher in St. Paul Public Schools. I've had the honor of working with kids and families in St. Paul for the last 35 years. Welcome, parents. I'm also the president here at St. Paul Federation of Educators, and it is honored. I'm honored to see all of you here tonight. I thank you, parents, for the work that you do. As trying as this time has been for our members, we know that you are taking care of our students when they're at home and trying to do your job at the same time, and doing what you do so well, which is being our partners in the education of your child. And if there was ever a time in our history of our country and our city where that has been important, it is now, and during distance learning. So we thank you for all the work that you have done with your students, and we're honored to be working with them during the day, during an online platform. Do we have any of our interpreters here? Myrna, are you here? Okay. So I just we did have some folks reach out and say if there would be interpretive services. And what we have said is that if folks are interested in having an interpretive session, we can go through the same presentation with a group of folks and arrange interpreters. So please, if somebody from your building has asked about that and is interested in that, please let us know. You can leave that information in the chat as well. We can get back to you, and we can set that up with folks. We would be more than willing to do that. But it looks like we don't have folks this evening in need of that. I introduced myself. I'm going to go through really quickly and introduce three groups of folks. First off, some of our members who are educators in the district who have been part of meeting with the district on a regular basis to negotiate some terms, both for distance learning, hybrid, which we never used, and are now currently negotiating terms for reentry back in the building. So I'll go through that group, then our staff from SPFE, and then some parents who actually reached out and asked SPFE, how can we help? What are some ways that parents can organize to get more information out there and to push for the safest, best schools for our students as possible in St. Paul Public Schools. So I'll introduce that group as well. So let's start out with our members, and let me know if I miss anybody. Tell us who you are and what your role is. So start out with Robin Asher.
Yeah, Robin Asher. I'm a science teacher at Como Park High School, and I'm also the elected secretary for SPFE.
Thanks. Lindsay?
Hi, I'm Lindsay Walker. I teach art at Benjamin E. Mays Ivy World School.
Excellent. Todd?
Hi, I'm Todd Martyr. I teach science at Ramsey Middle School, and I'm the treasurer for SPFE.
Super. Erica?
Hi, Erica Schatzline. I teach English learners at Nokomis Montessori North.
Excellent. Brian?
I'm Brian Hodrice. I teach third grade at Adams Spanish Immersion, and I'm elected to the executive board for SPFE.
Thanks, Brian. Leah Van Dasser.
Hi, I'm an 8th grade English teacher, usually at Highland Park Middle School. This year I'm on release to work with the district around COVID-related issues, and I'm also the vice president of SPFE.
Wonderful. Pete?
Pete Grebner. I taught chemistry alongside Robin Asher at Como Park High School for over 20 years. And now I am a teacher on special assignment. I'm the Schoology system admin, and I am the lead steward for SPFE.
Thanks. SPFE staff, or did I miss any leaders who are on the call? All right, thank you. SPFE staff, Abina?
Hi, y'all. I'm Abina Abraham. I'm one of the organizers.
Thank you. Maggie?
Hi, everyone. My name is Maggie Calda, and I am the other organizer with Abina with SPFP.
And Lynn.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lynn Bolton. I'm the political organizer for SPFE, and I will be your stack manager today.
All right. And then our parents, again, thank you for helping us pull this together. Parent leaders, we'll start with Julia.
Hi, I'm Julia Burgess. I have a third grader at Expo.
Seth.
I'm Seth Ozer. I have a first grader at Capitol Hill and a spouse at Mississippi Creative Arts.
Super. Leslie.
Hi, Leslie Lavery, she, her, hers. I have a first grader and a fifth grader at Randolph Heights.
Thank you. Krista.
Hi, I'm Krista Evans, and I have a third grader at Expo and a rising kindergartner in the fall.
Great. And the Wicks, Kim and Dan.
Hi, I'm Dan Wick. My wife Kim is here too, and we are parents of a third and fifth grader at Adams Spanish Immersion.
Thanks. Jason. Oop, not coming through, Jason. Our first technical difficulty. We'll come back to Jason in a second. Dan McGrath.
Hi, I'm the parent of a kindergartner at Hamlin Elementary and a second and fourth grader at Capitol Hill.
All right, super. Any of the parents on the leadership team that I've missed? Super. All right. Well, thank you for being here tonight again. I know folks have been rolling in, so I want to reiterate again, this is a space for parents tonight. So if you are not a parent with a student currently in SPPS, if you are not a parent, we'd ask you to leave. If you're one of our members, keep in mind that we do have a meeting coming up on Wednesday where we'll get you updated as well. So we really want to create a safe space for parents to hear updates that you've already gotten and ask their questions. Again, if you can keep cameras turned off and keep yourself muted, that's just going to help us with bandwidth during this time. And yeah, I think we're ready to go. So our format, I'm going to share my screen in just a moment here. And we've got a short presentation that we're going to put up and kind of go through. During a second part of the presentation, I'm going to talk a little bit about the things that we learned from our negotiation session on Monday, about where we're at with this. Some of our parent experts might chime in with some concerns they have on some of these things. And then we have some actions that are coming up as well that we want to inform you about. And then we'll take questions. Again, if you have chat questions, please put the word stack in the chat and type your question in there. We have a number of folks here tonight, so there's a good chance we will not get to everybody's questions. I just want you to know, just like we tell our members, even if your question doesn't get answered, the fact is we hold on to this chat. Our members on our bargaining team are looking at this. This is information that we do bring to the district when we're in negotiations with them, saying this is not clear, right? Parents are not understanding this, or our members are not understanding this. So even if your question doesn't get answered tonight, don't feel like it gets lost. It does have a purpose and a role. If you absolutely need an answer to that question, you can email activism@spfe28.org. And Lynn, if you could put that in the chat, that is a place too that at the end of the night, if you feel like there's a question that didn't get answered, we will do our best to answer it. But as many of you know, that's why there's over 200 of you in this room right now and over 400 that signed up for this. There are many unanswered questions. And that's why folks are here tonight. So we're going to do our best to inform you with what we know and answer your questions as best as possible. All right. So let me share my screen.
Nick, real quick, I just want to answer a question to a to somebody. I just lost my chat for a second. We're using the word stack as a way to just indicate this is a question someone is asking for an answer from the panel. So typing stack in front of your question helps make sure it doesn't get lost.
Thanks, Lynn.
Okay, again, I'm Leah Van Dasser, and I'm the Vice President at St. Paul Federation of Educators, and I'll be giving you some updates tonight about what we know. Now, as we all know, the governor's made a decision that schools could go back into session in full in person. And within 24 hours of that announcement, Dr. Gothard decided that St. Paul Public Schools would do that. So we're giving you some information what we know so far about the elementary schools and about the secondary schools as well. So at this point, we know that all the staff for pre-K 5 students will return the week of January 25th for 4 days, that week of non-instructional prep time. So what that means for families is that from January 25th to the 28th, their teachers will be getting their classrooms ready. They'll have some time in the building to rearrange furniture, things like that, get some materials ready for coming back to in-person. And there'll be some time in there too that the principals will have to help them get some things organized as well. The 29th was already a non-contact day for families, so there would be no school that day either. So that full week is non-instructional. And then going forward from that, students right now are projected to start pre-K 2 students will return to all day in person on Monday, February 1st. 2 weeks after that, on a rolling start, the grades 3 through 5 students and staff will then return as well to all day in-person school on Tuesday, February 16th. That we also have, the other things we know is that your school hours at your building will be the same as they were last year. So if you started at 7:30, school will start at 7:30 and go until 2. And if you are a late start school, which I'm not familiar with all those times, you'll start later and then get done at the later time as well. And then you should, I believe, you'll be receiving busing information sent to your homes around January 19th, I think, as far as there's a postcard sent with that information. So what we know for secondary, which is a little bit more up in the air and is more subject to change, but is stronger now than it was, is that grades 6 to 12 students and staff will return in a different format in February. Right now, if you go to the next one there, staff will return for 3 days at the beginning of the semester, which is February 1st through the 3rd. Also to get their classes ready and get some things ready in the building. The semester will just have between the two semesters, semester 1 ends on the 29th and then the second one starts on the 1st. There'll just be a bigger break there. And then semester 2 starts on the 4th. So those will also be non-instructional days. Now, if the timing changes for any reason, if for whatever reason the district cannot open on the 16th for students to return, on the 16th, then these days will be shifted as well. But right now, the district is pushing to get staff back in the building on the 1st. On the 1st, with students returning for 6/12 on the 16th of February. 6/8 will look different from 9/12. The two groupings will look not quite the same. So in a 6/8 school, all students will attend 1 day a week, and going slow because it should flip up there, unless they're choosing to stay in distance learning. So I know I saw some questions in the stack already about a deadline for choosing to stay in distance learning, and that is not set yet. My understanding is the district is not even planning to send any information to families until January 19th, isn't for an update for 9/12 and 6/8. So that deadline will come after that. So it would be later in January to decide if you'd like to stay in distance learning. 9-12 students will attend as needed for targeted academic supports. So all students 6 to 12 will stay in distance learning. There'll be some synchronous and asynchronous classes as they have now. 6th to 8th grade students will come 1 day a week on a rotation for some in-person time for academic supports in their schools. And 9 to 12 students will attend as needed based on some academic supports that are targets that the district has created. The timing for each of these groups is if you're in a 6-8 school, you will go from 8:30 to 11 each day, 1 day a week. And you'll be bused to school and you'll be bused home. And you can click the next thing forward again on that. And then if you're a 6 to 8th grader in a K-8 school, you will just go to school that's at the start time for them is 9:30 to 12. So the 6th to 8th grade students go in the morning. If you're a 6th to 8th grade student in a 6-12 school like Humboldt or Washington, you'll follow the in-school times that match the 9th through 12th graders, which is 12:30 to 3. And then all the high school students in 9-12 schools will attend in person upon invitation from 12:30 to 3. If students are in the building, then staff are expected to be in the building as well, unless they have been allowed an accommodation from an ADA or an executive order. Okay, and then still to be determined. We don't know the answers to these things for sure. We don't know the exact return date, especially for secondary. Now this is for secondary. The decision will be made right around January 19th. Again, like I said, the district is planning to be ready for February staff return and students on the 16th, but they have brought up more than once that this is contingent on case numbers generally in Ramsey County. Will they follow the district's plan of a 30, or will they follow the county numbers at all is still to be learned or known. In 6th to 8th grade, what we don't know specifically is what a daily in-building schedule might look like. That will probably be different from building to building. And for 9th through 12th grade, what we don't yet know for sure is, again, what the in-building schedule might look like. And then how the teachers would rotate to work with students who need that targeted support. Those are still things to be determined. Do you want me to keep talking, Nick, or are you going to take over?
No, I just needed to get off mute. Sorry
Okay.
about that. So again, I know we have some folks that just joined us. If you'd please mute your microphone and your video, that would be great. It will help with bandwidth. If you have a question, please put it in the chat marked by stack at the front. And we will try to get to questions when we're done here. So I just want to give an update of our negotiations and explain a little bit about the position we're in. So part of the executive order from the governor is that districts must work with the local unions around conditions of coming back, whether that's in distance learning, hybrid, or coming back into buildings. Also, legally, changes in work conditions do need to be negotiated with the union. So we're very clear when it was announced that we were going back into the building, that we were disappointed with that. Our leadership was. If you look on our website, you'll see the announcement that was put forward from our officers, most of whom you've met here tonight, stating our disappointments and our reasons why. I won't go into that right now. But we also recognized that the district has that prerogative to move into distance learning, and so, or excuse me, into in-person again. So we want to actually be able to negotiate in case that happens and they don't change their mind. So we did meet with them first day back from break. And here were some things that we learned. And I will say, they did give us, we did submit a list of questions we had just generally to them. That meeting on Monday the 4th was really having them respond back to those questions, because we had gotten answers, but quite frankly, they were kind of non-answers. And so we just needed some more clarity on a lot of those. So we continue to push on those. We also had agreed prior to break, after the announcement, that if we were going back in person, that there was a great deal of work done on our hybrid MOA, Memorandum of Agreement, that we had negotiated over months. And so we did have a number of pieces in that we thought would carry over, and the district was in agreement on that. So they did on Monday the 4th bring the pieces from the hybrid MOA that they felt would carry over into that space. So there was not much negotiating done on the 4th, but here are the things that we learned. One, in talking about, we were still asking where we were at with building air quality and so forth. And we did find out that there are MERV 11 filters going into each building, but it was stated by Tom Parent that he was nervous about getting all of them in all of the buildings, that we didn't have necessarily all of them on hand at this point. Now, I know we have some parent experts on here too. I want to be clear, if we could make sure that all of our buildings were retrofitted into MERV 16, that would be something that we would put on the table, right? If the schools hadn't been, especially our urban schools, been underfunded for the last 10 years or more, we might be in a position to talk about that, but that is not a space we're in. We got them to agree to have MERV 11, but I know some of our parents have concerns about that, and I don't know if Seth or Jason want to talk about that at all.
I can talk first, Nick. Thank you. First of all, I'd like to talk about the approach from conversations that I had with Tom Parent. When it comes specifically to the filters, they have 73 buildings and 7.5 million square feet that he kept bringing up, but they're doing one systematic approach to all facilities. And any building that you have, even if you build the same exact building 10 times with the same exact material and same exact contractor, it's going to operate differently. So they did not look at each building to see, can we handle MERV 11? Can we handle MERV 13? And let's be clear, MERV 13 at a minimum is what the CDC recommends looking for if your equipment can handle it. The other issue that I have this time of year is the biggest thing that we can do for our air quality is to increase the outside air consumption into our facilities. When we do that in Minnesota in the winter months, we all know that that dehumidifies our air. So it brings the relative humidity down. And we have not heard any answers on what St. Paul Public Schools is going to do to keep that relative humidity up to the recommended levels. What that does is it decreases the size of the COVID particles, making it harder to filter, and also keeps it airborne longer because it's not as heavy, sinking down to the ground where disinfection protocols and everything work. So those are just a couple of the concerns I have with this on numerous topics for facilities and filter-wise and everything.
Yeah, so this is Jason Johnson. I apologize for my audio problems earlier and then a computer crash. Just for a bit of background, MERV, M-E-R-V, and followed by a number is a rating that's given to a building filter. And for a filter that's equivalent to, say, an N95 mask, that's what we're talking about with the very best MERV 16. But it's also hard to force air through that. So building systems aren't necessarily always strong enough to do that. As we get down to the lower end of the good enough to filter some particles slightly better than a face mask filters, we're at the MERV 13 level. And some buildings within St. Paul Public Schools, we've been assured, are capable of that level. However, as we start to go to MERV 12, MERV 11, MERV 10, what we have is filters that are not rated to filter out virus-sized particles. They can filter out droplets, assuming those droplets can get to the ventilation intake. So what you're basically saying here is, unless you're overturning the room air, say 6 times an hour with filtered clean air, all you're doing is recirculating virus particles throughout the system. And so that's when physical distancing, personal protection really become relevant. And what you're saying is you're taking a little point source, a kid who's emitting, an infectious dose of COVID-19 every 2 minutes, and letting that build up in the room and the building over the course of a period of time. And so we're concerned, and I think rightly so, that the filtration and ventilation logistics are not good enough to keep everyone in the classroom safe.
Thanks, gentlemen. I think, so to give you an example then of how SPFE is advocating for our members and your kids in that space, is we do recognize that some of our buildings, it's just impossible to get that MERV situation in there. So then we're advocating for further distancing, bringing in portable air filters, possibly not using certain rooms that don't have windows and so forth. So that's where the discussion starts to have to try to make these spaces as safe as possible for your students and for our members.
Nick, I'd like to add something really quickly, if I could, to clarify this part about they'll need to be replaced. A filter, if you have filters in your home, air filters in your home, you know that they don't last all year. You have to rotate them around. And so that's true for our schools as well. So at the beginning of the school year, all the schools in the district had all the MERV 11 filters they needed. However, there's a supply and demand situation going on right now. And for example, at Harding High School, they need 463 filters for just that building to replace them all. So you times that by all the buildings in the district, not all of them are as large as Harding, of course, but it's a significant amount of filters. And this is what right now they need to be rotated or replaced, and they don't have them all on hand right now.
Thanks. Second point we learned is that MDH strongly recommends three or more feet physical distancing between students. And SPPS made it clear that they cannot guarantee students will be more than 3 feet with the current plan. And I think this is why, especially in talking with these parent leaders tonight, that we really wanted to have this session tonight, is to let folks know that, right? And these other concerns, because we did know that we had this conversation with a number of parents who decided that was the factor that made them decide, I'm going to put my kid in VLS, right? Because they just felt like distancing and possibly the combination of the MERV, right, is what drove that. And so, when the district was really clear, we can't do that, and seemed to say that anybody who has problems with distancing should, sign up for VLS. We were asking, like, well, have you let folks know this? Is there a plan in some of our buildings with smaller classrooms where it's going to be really super tight? And clearly there's no way of getting it at 3 feet. Are we going to intentionally reach out to those classrooms and let those families know so that they can make an informed decision? I was told no, that we would just make a broadcast across everybody. And some of our members have been doing that individually because they know their classroom's smaller, what have you, reaching out to parents on their own to let them know so that they can make an informed choice.
If I may, Nick, every aspect of a good COVID preparedness plan has to play well with each other. You can't just have filters if you don't allow physical distance. You can't not allow physical distance even if you have PPE. Everything needs to play well. And we're going to have 28 to 31 students, from what principals have told me, in these classrooms within 3 feet of each other. And at least 2 times a day, none of those students are going to be wearing face masks. while they're having breakfast, while they're having lunch, things like that. Because the cafeterias aren't big enough to have them 6 foot of physical distance inside of there as we're introducing specialists and everything into the classroom. We also, I haven't heard anything saying that teachers will be able to maintain a distance of 6 feet from the students at all time, from desk time and instruction time, or what their plexiglass barriers or anything are going to look like inside of there. So to me, as a parent, that 3 foot, not even be able to maintain 3 foot, which to me is already extremely slack from what it should be, is really a non-starter for what I'm looking at.
Yep. And we did, at that time, we still had no idea. I'm glad you brought up lunchtime. We had been hearing rumors that the kids would be eating in the room. We had other rumors that they would be able to use the lunchrooms. And Vandesser, I feel like you heard some more information on that today. Is that correct?
I actually went and read the update. There's, I mean, you can find all this out online. The state keeps putting, there was a new one put out yesterday. That lunches are now being allowed to be happening in the cafeterias, which was already in place for the hybrid plan. So that was already worked out. Students were sitting one at a table, all of them facing the same direction. It was very few, one class at a time. There were overflow lunch areas created in most buildings. This is all very, that's all in line with what was already planned for hybrid. So I think it's a matter of the schools, each individual school figuring out how it's going to work for them and moving the students in a safe manner. There would have been fewer students at a time in hybrid, of course, but depending on the size of the school, depending on the size of the overflow area, depending on numbers in general, I think that some schools might have some people eating in the cafeteria and some staying in their classrooms. None of it is ideal. That's the point here, is that, yeah, you could make this happen, but it's not ideal. And we're, when we're thinking about what's safe for our families and our students, this could be something else that, just be aware. You'll have to ask at your school what the plan is at each individual school. Unfortunately, we don't have the plans for what each school is doing. And some principals may not have enough information yet to be able to tell people what the plan is going to be at their building, which it's all very unfortunate. Time is marching on and we still don't have answers.
We also found out that dialing back, once schools are open, we could not get the district to give us a specific trigger point of when we might get dialed back. What does it look like to say, whoa, there's too high of contagion rate here or something, we need to go back into distance learning? What does that look like? Previously, we had been at a case rate of 50, I think it was, Leah, and which we were above when this was announced. So that would mean that we were going back into the buildings only to turn around with dial back and come back out. So a point that would have taken us out of in-person learning previously was now okay to go into buildings with. And that was problematic. And when we asked the district to really give us specifics on this, and actually in a meeting with the superintendent right before I got on this call, they were not willing to commit to just really specific numbers of what it would take to dial back. And they are looking at different county information, but also school information. And from what Abina and I learned in our meeting with the superintendent today is that we could be quarantining just classrooms, quarantining full schools, or, again, not quarantining, but going into distance learning with classrooms, schools, or entire district. So, and just trying to get them to commit to like a flow chart. If this, then this, how do we explain this to members? How do we explain it to parents? So they really are clear about what the plan is. And that's what we're trying to get from them. So yeah, that's what we're asking for. And then there's specialists in the elementary classroom. So I was elementary science specialist for a number of years. One of the folks that work with your kids while the rest of the teachers are taking prep. We do know that specialists are going to have to teach, are going to be expected to teach virtually and in person at the same time. Not synchronously, but they're going to have some classes that are going to be online, some classes that are in person. And so we're trying to figure out what that will look like. We've been really clear, especially as we've talked about the hybrid situation where folks would be doing some things in person and online at the same time, that folks not do that synchronously, but also recognizing how much, from what we've heard of our members across the state, how much the workload is for educators who are trying to do both of those at the same time. So, and Lindsay, I don't know if you want to speak to this at all. Not to put you on the spot.
Yeah, I would just add that we're also negotiating ways in which we can make our trips into your children's classrooms as safe as possible. We are super concerned that we would become super spreaders too. So we're trying to make sure that that any trips into the classrooms are done as safely as possible. So I would just add that too.
Thanks. So SPFE will probably put something on the table to just compensate those educators more for that extra workload, or give them some additional prep time to be able to prepare for those classes so that they can deliver the best quality lessons for your kids as possible. And then substitutes. This is something we're really concerned about. Like, the sub pool is really low, and we're in a pandemic, so people are getting sick a lot. And when people get sick, they're not just sick for a day, they're being quarantined for 10 to 14 days. So we do know that the district is creating a subpool made up of teachers on special assignments. In other words, teachers who do not have classroom responsibilities, to be able to come in and fill in for absent teachers. And we're going to be proposing, that we, many things, a lot of different things for managing the sub and staffing shortages, as well as demanding a plan for what to do when there's severe shortages. Like, we're extremely concerned about the staffing issues here, and what happens when a building just has so many people out sick, and a number of kids there in person. This was pretty interesting. They told us that night that the vaccines would be available at the end of February to educators. We heard then on the MDH website that they would be available for educators in mid-February. And then I got a text from the commissioner saying that they're looking for input on the rollout of the vaccine. So one way or another, we know that the vaccine are coming. And it should be, it's just around the corner. And I think this is one of the things we've been hearing from our members and from parents is like, why is this the hurry to get back? Why can't we wait until our educators are vaccinated so that we can control the spread a little bit more? So we've actually proposed that we do not return until education staff have had the chance to be vaccinated. So again, that's what we have done. We did send a letter, a demand to bargain letter, and request for the dates. So our first meeting dates were on the 4th, and those were the things we talked about. We did have a meeting set for the 6th, which was on Wednesday, but due to the events at our nation's capital and outside the governor's mansion and so forth here in Minnesota, the district requested that we cancel that, and we agreed as well. So we did not meet on the 6th. We met with the superintendent and expressed our concerns both today and on the 18th around the reopening. We do know that a number of our members and parents have questions and concerns about this. So we have been encouraging our members because they have concerns about this. And our members are asking us, like, are we going to strike over this? I want to be clear, we cannot do that. We can only strike when we are in a bargaining situation or a contract. So that cannot happen. We can, however, organize and make our voices known on this. So we have heard that the district is getting a number of phone calls and emails and texts and so forth. So our members have been doing that and reaching out to the school board as well. And we've just been encouraging folks to have simple messages about keeping our buildings safe, making sure that educators are vaccinated before we go back, and making sure that our rates have declined. Our original plan said that we should not go back until our case rate was down to 30 per 10,000, and we still haven't hit that yet. And as I know, I've heard from a number of you and from our members that although numbers have gone down, we are expecting the new strain to hit us soon. And also that we expect a bump from the holidays as well. So individual actions that you can take, consider VLS for keeping your students safe. I just love the fact that some of our members or some of our parents have asked us, what would you prefer us to do for your educators? What's going to keep them safe? You have to consider what's safest for your students. And so VLS, I know, is the choice for a lot of you, and we'll be fine. But consider that. And we did know, and part of the reason for having this is we were under the assumption that today was the last day to sign up for VLS. So we wanted to get this information in front of you as soon as possible. But we have heard that the registration for that has been extended to Monday at midnight. So you do have the weekend to still sign up for VLS.
Nick, it is only until 4. I saw that on the district website today, and that's what it says here too.
Oh,
it is until 4 p.m. on Monday.
Okay, I apologize. Oh yeah, it says that right in front. I can read. There we go. And sign the petition. Lynn will put the link to the petition in the chat. We do have a petition going out just saying to hold off on going back until educators can be vaccinated. And I know for some of you, that's not the only thing, right? But there is a place to put in there in the comments of other things that you think should be part of that we should be waiting for until we do that as well. And then show up on Tuesday. We are organizing an action at the district headquarters at 360 Colburn. This is part of a national day of action around safe return to schools. So we'll do a car rally at the headquarters. When you enter the area, you will be handed a QVC code to join onto a meeting such as this that you can watch from your car. We will interact with folks as they are in the car, so you will feel like you're part of the presentation. We also will be asking folks to do some things from their cars and so forth, so you'll be interacting with each other, but you will be doing it in a safe way. We'll have some speakers, and some of the folks that you've heard here tonight will speak and be present. And we'll get to send a message to our district that we really think think it's important to hold off on heading back until we can be safe. We really want this to be a family event. So bring your family along. Again, we want an event that will be safe. And there will be press involved. So if you're planning on being there, know that as well. All right, and I think that is the last slide. So I'm going to stop there.